Join us on Now We Consume. Take in the knowledge, take in the laughs, indulge in the topics with us. The Now We Consume podcast will take you through the parts of your day you normally dread. Why suffer through the existential crisis of life alone when you can do it with us? And now we consume.
This is not meant to be a conspiracy episode or podcast, but we may cover some topics that dance that line like a toddler dances on their mother's last nerve. This podcast is rated I, for immature audiences only.
Welcome to the Now We Consume podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Pip. Tonight, as always, are my co-hosts, Gibbles and Gibbs.
Hello!
Hi.
And I just wanted to kind of let you guys know something and ask you if you've run into this. I did one of those phone updates finally, because it's just been nagging at me. And now my phone is autocorrecting help in my text messages to, "You're doing great, sweetie." So now my phone is literally gaslighting me harder than my ex ever did. And I figure that now it's just going to start narrating my dreams in Morgan Freeman voice. And then Pip ate the entire pizza alone in the dark while crying.
And then he fucked up.
So, you know, I figure it's that or nothing. So, well, welcome to the show, everyone. We're going to take a trip down memory lane tonight. Last season, we had discussed, we had a gun episode, Why We Pew. We talked about American gun culture and a lot of the issues that surround Americans and firearm culture, laws, and everything else in general. Since that episode, there have been a lot of changes in that realm, we'll say. To kind of re-familiarize people that are new to the show, the basics of the Second Amendment, you know, the right of the people shall not be infringed, to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's primarily for self-defense, defense of yourself, your home, and others. It's for the ability of a militia to be raised and stand up against a tyrannical government. And also
the U.S. government, but you know.
Well, I think now more than ever, we have to worry about the possibility of outside governments encroaching in different ways. And the U.S. government not doing anything about it. And that's something we'll touch on later.
That's like state governments.
Well, even, yes, state governments, national governments, everything, every kind of government that you have to potentially worry about, you need to be able to protect yourselves from them.
Mm-hmm.
There's also been...
You gotta know...
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, because then you end up with some pussy-ass bitches that, like this mayor out west that thinks you should be shamed for having expressed your Second Amendment right. For shame.
Yeah.
But, you know, he still has that police escort and everything, you know, who have guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, just saying.
Yeah, the people that make the laws are making these laws from behind the barriers and protection of those who are already armed. So take that away, and I think their tune will change. But there's been a lot of recent legal shakeups. The Supreme Court has heard some cases. There's been a lot of law-defining state-level cases that have been heard, and the ripples of those cases are starting to kind of get felt all across the country, with other cases getting challenged based off of the results of those. So we'll touch on some of those here in a little bit. Some stats that I was able to dig up. Right now in America, 32% of adults personally own a gun. Now, I felt that stat was very low, and it may have been off in some degree, but then I started to think about the population offset of like your major population centers, and a lot of those places tend to be gun-free zones, like overall. So
I'll tell you, I
like
think
the major
32,
cities.
I hate to say it, 32 might be a high number. Because to give you an idea, New York City, they didn't allow any firearms until recently. You had to be someone of either a big political stance or somebody that regularly carried large amounts of, you know, like money or jewelry, something like that. So in New York City, they were limited to like a few thousand.
Okay.
out of the millions that were there. Same like Boston
But
isn't
just-
as bad, but same thing with places like in New Jersey as well. They're pretty restrictive. Look at like Chicago, Detroit, other places like that where they are very restrictive. So
Yeah.
you're probably talking like I bet you less than 1% or 0.5% chance in a lot of those cities. Because I've
Okay,
spent a
well,
lot of time in major
nation's
cities. And
capital is pretty low.
I rarely knew anybody else that would carry.
Well, okay. So still, even if that's roughly accurate, you're still talking a third of the country is armed. That's not
Oh yeah,
bad.
once you get outside the major cities, it's the majority.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Vastly.
Yeah.
That's the catch.
Yeah.
That's really the catch in America. Where in any major metropolitan area, most of it probably. I'm curious where places like out down in Louisiana or in Dallas, Texas, or even in like Nashville, like certain areas that are kind of more conservative leaning or Republican. I'm curious if how much higher they are, but definitely in rural areas. Once you get out past the cities,
Mm-hmm.
it's a significant portion.
Yeah.
Definitely the majority.
The other number that I thought was kind of weird, and it kind of went against that 32%, between 42 and 44% of people in the country are gun owning households. So I think they just looked at the number of like actual home owners, not like renters or anything. So in that number, again, I think that's low because once you own that house, you want to be able to protect it.
Yeah, but you gotta realize that there's a lot of people that don't.
That's
There's
true.
a lot of people that don't. Because I know both of you in more rural areas,
Mm-hmm.
but like I'll tell you at least around where I'm at, that's near a major metropolitan area. People like me are almost a unicorn, so which I think offsets it. I hate to say
Yeah,
it, but it definitely does.
And when you think
And
about
there
it,
are some apartments around here that will not allow it.
that shouldn't even
Which
be
figure
allowed
that
to be
one out.
regulated.
Yep, figure that one out. There's some around here, as one of my friends is finding out, you can't park a commercial vehicle at an apartment
Wow.
complex. Yeah, they're allowed to make whatever rules they want. So people got to understand that sometimes it's not always about people exercising a right or not. Sometimes it's literally, hey, if the area leans a certain way, you just can't do it.
Wow. Almost ties in with like fines and penalties for laws. You know, if the
Mhm.
punishment for a law is just a fine, then it only exists to generate revenue.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
But,
so to give people the idea why that is, why I'm bringing that up, is because there are some apartments around here you can't have a safe, and in Massachusetts you cannot own a firearm if you don't have a safe. So figure that one out.
Why
Why
can't
is
you
it
have a
not
safe?
Because you cannot install one.
Who cares if it's
And in
installed?
Massachusetts, doesn't matter. It has to be secure. And in order for it to be secure, it must be installed. It can't just be like a loose. Yeah. So, gotta love it.
What if it's like a 600-700 pound safe? That ain't moving.
I mean, you can probably get around that, but then here comes the problem of, oh yeah, they might not allow that in the apartment per the lease agreement. So, good luck
Mm,
with that.
unless you're on the first floor.
Yeah,
That'd be a different
I'd
story.
like to find some ways to challenge some bullshit like that. But
Good luck.
with gun ownership becoming a little bit more mainstream, there's still a lot of polls that are split, roughly 60-40, on stricter laws for the firearms. So
Yeah.
the question we're asking is bear everything kind of the next frontier as a last resort? Or
Thank you.
is that going to be turning into a recipe for chaos? So I'm
Well, if you look at what you're talking about, bear everything. What some people need to realize is constitutional carry wasn't around until the last 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
Like there's been, it used to be for a long time in America that generally
What's
most gun rights were pretty moderate, where most states were considered moderate, where as long as you got the license and everything, you did everything properly and did the training, you could carry. And there really wasn't as many restrictions, whereas now, because of so many states being restrictive, they have to be able to label themselves a certain way to understand it, and that becomes constitutional carry. So it kind of ends up really separating the two halves of you're either pro Second Amendment states or anti Second Amendment states.
Yeah. So, I mean, with in the spirit of encouraging more people to kind of bear everything, I'm wondering if maybe along with our tax refunds, we should be getting cannons loaded with grape shot issued to us. So that way, when you get your door kicked in at 2 a.m., you're just like, meet my friend Shredder, you fuckwads.
Ole.
I mean, I'm not against it.
It's either that or the Claymore Roomba.
See, that seems like more
I like the grape. I like the cannon with the grape shot idea because if somebody argues, well, they didn't have it back then, be like, actually, they did.
Actually, that's been around since the 14th century. Good luck
Yeah.
with that.
That's right.
See, we should be allowed to get one of those old style Gatling
Yes.
rotary ones that's in fucking
Oh,
.65
yes.
caliber. Because
Yeah.
people don't realize back then they just fired big ass pieces of lead. And let me tell you, if you did not die from the initial impact, you will die from the lead
You
poisoning.
wanted to.
Yeah, Good luck with that.
There was no wanting to stay alive after that.
No. There was an interview that I saw not too long ago, like just the past couple of weeks. They were asking some well-educated college attendees what they thought the limits of gun ownership should be. And
Oh God.
these folks, these individuals, these future voters were, I had to give them credit. And I was actually on board with what a lot of them said. They were of the opinion that the average American should not be able to access anything beyond what police have access to. You know what? I'm okay with that because a lot of the police forces, they have full auto, they have SBRs, they have MRAPs, they have rocket launchers, they have door breachers, they have all kinds of high caliber armor piercing rounds that some states just outright ban. So let's get on that page and then we can start having other discussions.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh-oh.
there definitely
I
needs to be
think
the
you messed
discussion.
up.
There definitely needs to be the discussion of if you're allowed to defend yourself against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that includes domestic.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I think we all have to admit, and this is where I think on the left they need to admit, as much as 97% of cops are bad, 3% of them are going to cause you problems. And unfortunately, it's are you allowed to defend yourself against anyone, foreign or domestic?
I would argue
By that
97%
3%
of
what you
cops
just
are
said?
not bad.
That's what I said. 90%
No.
of 7 cops are not bad.
No,
3%
you
are
did.
gonna
You
cause
said 97% ops are bad, and then
Oh,
you said
sorry.
3%.
I don't know if you heard that. I apologize.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was
don't want
like, wait,
no.
what?
But 97% of them are not bad.
I would
The
encourage you
3%
to
are gonna
listen to
cause
that
you
on the
problems.
editing.
I'll just put that out. I get to control that. But
All
but
right,
no,
1984,
on a more,
here we go.
Right?
Yeah, I know, right? But on a more serious discussion, though, that the question is, are you allowed to defend yourself against that 3%?
Right.
That unfortunately, it might be 3%, could be 1%, could be 5%. You throw
be
your numbers.
10%.
Depends on how well that. It depends on how that department, unfortunately, is trained and how they're regulated and what the standards are. Because we've seen some that are trained very well, and that's great, and that's exactly what we want to see. Unfortunately, we've seen some where they're clearly not, where they're going to sit around and do nothing, or they're going to, unfortunately, do something terrible. So I
Ruby
agree with
Ridge.
the logic. Dude, this is the point where cue the list, and it's like a big monologue list of like the 900 fucking things that have happened.
I just watched
So-
a video last night from Donut Operator where an old lady got shot in the crossfire. That just blew my mind. Like, you already shot her once, and then she's trying to escape from the bathroom, and then you shoot her 2 more times.
I mean, at that point, she can't sue if she's not alive.
No, she survived.
Oh, my
and she was
God.
very cool about it. She was very cool about it, very calm. The woman's been hit multiple times, and she was like, just turn the light on. And then when everybody's screaming, are you okay? She's like, I've been hit.
God,
And
I
at that
hope she
point,
gets,
if I remember right, at that point, I believe the son was dead, if I remember right. Or wait, no. He went to the hospital. He's in critical condition. Grandma got taken care of and she's fine. Sorry.
She's a
That
tough
should be
old
a-
bird.
first of all, don't fuck with grandma.
Ever.
Clearly, she's seen some
Right.
shit. Second off, that should be the biggest fucking payday ever
Uh-huh.
for the whole family because, like, Jesus
Absolutely.
Christ. And I will say, I think a lot of this doesn't help with the anti-police sentiment that's been going on and rhetoric that's in with the local media, with a lot of news and everything. So I understand there's a lot of officers that might be a little more scared or a little bit more nervous in situations. I think everybody has to kind of agree with that, but it doesn't excuse situations like that where it's just clearly either due to lack of training or information or communication, something therein.
Yeah. Like in that scenario, to me, from, the first time the old bird got shot, it was one of those scenarios where the suspect had the gun. He's aiming at the cop. The cop actually got hit center mass. So, rounds are going to come flying back towards the suspect, regardless of what was happening, because the cop doesn't want to die. You know what? Gotcha. You put yourself in a bad scenario. Shit happens. The second time this old bird got shot, that's more, I think, on the officer. Adrenaline's pumping, all that stuff. But good trigger control could have kept that from getting way out of hand, more so than it already was at that point. So it was definitely more of a training and experience kind of thing. Why I think she got shot more than once.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So moving on with some of this. One of the things, well, like you were just talking about with her, she should be scoring a payday. The legal side of some things. The Supreme Court, United States v. Himani, I think is how you say that, on whether drug users, and that's including recreational marijuana, can possess firearms. With states legalizing marijuana left and right. What's that?
I was saying, like, why not? If you can drink alcohol and still
exactly,
own a firearm.
But it's
right
from the way I'm reading on things. It's literally at time of use level is how it should be, and I think that's kind of where the arguments are going to be settling. Because right now they're arguing whether people using marijuana will be able to even possess the firearms, because with it being removed from Schedule 1, that's going to change a lot of the stuff that's been sitting on a lot of the docket stuff. Yeah. With states pushing... go ahead.
Sorry, my internet's being a little weird. So what I wanted to ask is, do you know the current laws on how much alcohol you're allowed to have in your system and still carry a firearm?
0.
Okay. So as long as that's consistent.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be intoxicated while you have your weapon. DC police, if you even think that you're going to go drink, you should not have your weapon.
So, but you said intoxicated. Does that mean, are you talking 0.08 or are you talking about anything?
Anything.
The way, like in Ohio, you are not allowed to have any alcohol in your system or any kind of impairing substance in your system while you've got your firearm on you or in your vehicle.
See, that
it's like operating a motor vehicle.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I was just making sure it's consistent with the wording and the language. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty universal across the U.S.
Yeah. And I still understand how anybody can operate a vehicle, do much of anything high on marijuana. Like, how?
Well, hey, some people can apparently order an Uber and get to the airport when they're stoned off their ass. So,
I don't know. It was time travel to me.
Got there and why his ass hurts.
Dude, no, that my ass was not hurting. Thank you.
I blame Carly.
My face was hurting from laughing. Yeah, but dude, that's I at least if they're being intellectually consistent with that, with the law, then that's what I'm okay with. I was just concerned that they were either going to have an exception one way or the other. But if you're talking about impaired by any substance, then that is okay. The only thing that kind of sucks is like if you're on some sort of pharmaceutical med that's like a medication kind of thing. But I know that's kind of a gray area.
Yeah. So along those lines, there's a lot of states that are pushing kind of a mixed bag of law bullshit. Many states are pushing assault style restrictions, yet they still cannot define assault as a physical construct of a firearm. So thankfully that's getting held up. Many states are pushing different storage mandates, liability rules for a lot of different places as what is the legal precedent and the legal determination of justification that has to be put forward by either the defendee or the prosecutor. So castle doctrine type of stuff. Suppressor access is getting easier thanks to federal tweaks. Loving that. Suppressors are being classified almost as hearing protection now. So with quieter ARs, we could be in the situation of polite neighborhood defense. And if there's quiet neighborhoods, Terrans don't get to gripe when they hear you practicing.
Especially if you're using some subsonic 300 blackout.
Oh, yes.
I tell you, I've seen some suppressors that like are shockingly quiet.
Uh-huh. And a side note on suppressed firearms, if you're in the backyard getting your practice in, the zombies won't hear you coming. Food for thought.
Yeah.
A note on the liability on that. Oh yeah, you go.
I was going to say, but the funny part with all these laws and all these restrictions that they keep putting in place, if they actually took the time to enforce said laws and force these judges to actually enforce the state minimums, or go with, in the case of this one guy down, what was that gentleman that got recommended 65 years for rape, assault, and all that, and kidnapping? And the judge turned around and said, nah, 30 years. And while the suspect is sitting there, or defendant, is sitting there berating her, telling her to suck his you-know-what, and all this other stuff, things that most normal courthouses would never put up with, she's sitting there just kind of foo-fooing it away like, oh, you've had a bad life. And yeah, I know you're saying these things, but oh well. If judges were held accountable for shit like that, and they actually enforced said laws when it was time to enforce them, all these laws that they keep coming up with are not needed. Mm-hmm. None of them. Not a single one of these laws that people keep coming up with are not needed. The only people that they're affecting is the citizen.
Yeah.
The person that's trying to follow the law. Those are the only people it affects. The criminals don't give a goddamn.
Now, it always comes back to the laws are literally just words on paper. It's who chooses to follow and abide by them and who doesn't. So,
again,
that's
usually and
the people that don't want to deal with the. Well, I was going to say the only people that are abiding by it are the people that don't want to deal with the police and they don't want to lose their freedoms. Those are the ones who follow it. The other ones, they don't give a shit. It's a game.
Well, I was going to say a law that's not enforced doesn't exist. So it's one of those problems where if it's never enforced, it's really not a law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
DC has a lot of those.
Yeah. And see, this is kind of what has been one of the bigger ongoing issues in the gun discussion for many years. Responsible controls versus rights and finding the balance. And then when you get into that, you've always got the issues of all the tragedies that happen versus the rights of the people who don't commit the tragedies. You've got defense of home and self versus the responsibility of people that are out and about. Social violence and murder and suicide versus just national safety. I mean, the list goes on.
Well, you got two sides of the... All right, because you got two sides of the coin. You got the people that think they should be able to defend themselves by any means necessary when somebody's coming after them with a weapon of any kind. And then you got the retards on the other side that watched your baby get shot up because of...
Bad word.
Sorry.
$20
I got
in the
caught
cookie
up
jar.
in the moment. I do apologize. Put that one in the jar. Sorry, I got caught up because I get angry about this. You got people that sit there and they get angry because their baby boo got shot up while they were committing a crime, a violent crime, and they want to come out. Right. And they want to come after the victim as if they're the ones that were wrong. You should have just let them rob you.
Yeah.
What kind of mentality is that? Excuse me. Like I said, I get angry about that.
It's all good. You were a cop for many years. You saw both sides of a lot of these things. So you've got some special perspective from a lot of this shit.
Yeah.
So my question kind of goes back to the marijuana debate. What are your thoughts on if the Supreme Court decides that casual marijuana users can or will lose firearm rights? I think that kind of legislates a lot of firearm owners out of the situation.
It would be unconstitutional.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I also think with it getting removed from
Absolutely.
Schedule 1, that's going to be a much harder thing for them to do.
Because the problem runs here that if you can't use a mild amount of marijuana, then I guess you can't be on anything.
Yeah.
I mean, for God's
Right.
sakes, you can't even have friggin' caffeine.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
There was one case they were trying to expand expand the definition of mind altering substances, and caffeine was on their list. So they were really, it was somebody in the Brady camp. So that doesn't surprise me at all. So, now this one, Gibbles, I know this one's going to tickle your taint a little bit.
Oh boy.
Ghost gun controversies.
Mm.
The DIY camp, is it Liberty or the Untraceable Risk? We've heard the rage and the spooky tales of ghost guns for years. I know your eye is twitching because of that. I can see it. Literally,
I'm
ghost
playing
guns.
with 3D print.
Yeah,
Yeah, I play with 3D printers now.
yes,
You know that.
So do I.
I'm sorry, but you're not gonna stop that. The only people you're gonna affect is like you and I, who want to follow the law, want to be law-abiding citizens, raise our children to be law-abiding citizens. We're the only ones that are gonna be affected by that.
Yep.
If you want to jailbreak your machine, reprogram it real quick, and still print that stuff out, guess what? It's gonna happen. You can't regulate that away.
Oh yeah.
It's out in the wild already. You can't make it stop. The only thing you should be doing is making it a crime to be able to use something like that in the commission of a crime and make it so heinous of a punishment that nobody's going to want to do it. Otherwise, they know they're screwed. That's what should happen. Not to sit there and regulate something because, oh, there's a spooky thing happening where you could make your own gun. Hey, guess what? We've been able to make our own guns now for hundreds of years. What's different except the mechanism of how you made it?
Yep.
I guess
Yeah,
Christ's sake, there's kits that show you how to make your own guns, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
they're not
I mean,
hard.
what, 80% lowers? I mean,
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah. Oh my God, he 3D printed it. Whoa.
yeah, and with
Well, I guess
with 3D printers getting not only more affordable, but also more advanced, and the materials that you can print with are also getting more advanced. I mean, 3D printing is moving not just out of the hobby realm, but into the commercial realm. You can set up 3D printers in your garage and have a full fabrication shop printing commercial grade parts that are not possible to make in many other cases.
Yeah.
That's why 3D printing took off.
Yeah. I can make a 90-cent part that typically in the past it would have cost me like $90 for it because the company didn't want to keep it in stock. So I had to replace the whole mechanism. Whereas now I'm like, I just need a gear. Oh, let me print it. Now I don't have to replace the whole flipping thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
The Supreme Court upheld that AATF, they had kit regulations back in 2025. It involved serial numbers and background checks would be required for some of these kits, but the fight is ongoing. Currently, the House has passed HR 2189 that's trying to create a new ghost gun class using less lethal loopholes. And a lot of the people are talking about this is using conversion bypasses to get around some of this stuff. Basically saying if you can use a conversion kit off the shelf, that these 3D printed firearms will fall under that. So it's kind of a really weird gray area thing, and it's confusing as hell to try to read. So if you have time, look up HR 2189 and give it a go.
Yeah.
A lot of states are kind of fighting
it's
back.
As simple as just saying, yeah. Well, like I said before, it's such a simple thing that I swear they don't want to do. Just make it a punishment of such that it's bad enough that anybody that thinks about, hey, should I print my own ghost gun? Well, what happens if I do it and commission a crime or it comes back on me? Maybe I shouldn't do that. You know?
Yeah. Some states are trying to mandate barrel transparency. They're trying to outright ban 3D printing in general. Some are using digital codes to try to get into the printers so that they can identify what's being printed. That's great for new printers, but you can't stop the old printers that don't have that technology. And tinkers are going to tinker.
Anybody with an old printer is also going to have money.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of other stuff they're trying to get implemented in this stuff. So, do you guys feel that ghost guns or the 3D printed firearms are anything that should be legal, or like is that like the ultimate expression of the Second Amendment? You can build your own freedom, essentially, or is it really kind of a criminal thing? Because I don't know how many 3D printed guns get used in crimes, and I could not find the stats for that. So I can't imagine it's many. I'm not saying zero, but apparently it's not enough that are tracked in the crime stats.
I don't know. I almost look at it as the same way that you look at a toy gun that's been painted up to look like a real weapon. You can print out a fake gun on a 3D printer. It looks like the real thing.
These things are functional.
I've done it, but I also printed it where well, you know, I mean, they are functional to a point, but I'm very sure none of the filament can withstand some of the pressures, you know, these rounds take. Maybe like a 22 caliber possibly, or a 9mm, but anything past that, I can't imagine a ghost gun taking that kind of pressure and lasting for more than a few rounds at best.
I think that's all they're designed for is between like 2 and 5 rounds. I've seen up to a 38. So, but I mean, if you're trying to do something, you know, some kind of a job, air quotes, maybe that's all you need is just 1 or 2 rounds. So
scared the shit out of everybody.
Well, you just need to
be the bank robber walks in with the ghost gun and shoots it once and goes, everybody get on the ground.
Well, that, or you just need to get a round onto a target. I mean,
yeah,
a 3D printed gun would be a hitman.
One shot, one kill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's some ethical stuff that we kind of need to talk about in this. It does prohibit bad actors from getting this stuff if they kind of go down the banning route, but it impacts the hobbyists, I feel, way more. If they put many more restrictions on the people that are in the 3D printing field, it's going to restrict them way more than it's going to restrict or do anything to go up against the criminals that are using these or potentially using these. Because the people who are using the 3D printers are not just using them for this. or potentially using them for this. As we know, 3D printers are used every single day to make a plethora of things that don't hurt anyone in any way. Another way to look at this is a lathe and a mill. Those can be used to make a rifle, but they can also be used to make things like motors or car parts or things for your house, pieces of machinery. A 3D printer can be used to make a firearm, but it can be used to make other things. They have 3D printers on the space station. It doesn't hurt anybody. A hammer can kill someone just as well as it can build a house. So in this field, like we said earlier, with the laws, it all comes down to the user, the intent, and the people who will follow them.
Yep. But politicians don't care about that. They just want the feel-good points so they can get the votes. So.
No, and since you brought up the politicians, I want to say this. I personally feel that most of the people that are making these laws are people who are not technologically savvy enough to understand the vast majority of the shit that goes into these things. And they're sitting here trying to regulate the common sense out of stuff they don't understand.
Well, they're also the same sort of people that sit there and regulate the weapons themselves. They don't give a shit about, the common man and what they're using it for. All they see is if I can make a law that restricts this weapon even more, I can get votes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it doesn't hurt the criminal at all. It's only hurting the citizen. So be it. That's the way I've seen it. And that's every single time I see a politician get on the pulpit talking about, oh, we're going to pass more common sense gun laws. There's no common sense to it if you don't even encourage the prosecutors and the judges to actually enforce the laws that you have on the books now.
Yeah.
Where's the common sense to any of that? And, you 3D printers, gun laws. What?
And the majority
None of
of it is.
It's all pointless if you don't enforce. Yeah, it's all pointless if you don't enforce the law. I saw that so much. You have all these laws that are on the book. In District of Columbia, there were so many laws that you have that you don't even realize you can break. Hell, you could run a yellow light. Guess what? That's a civil infraction. You're not even supposed to run a yellow light. How many people know that? Because it's not enforced usually. But I mean, and that's what I digress. We keep talking about, more common sense gun laws, or we're going to restrict this, or we're going to do that. It doesn't affect the criminal because you don't enforce the law. The only people that get hit by this stuff is the poor bastards who are sitting there trying to follow the law. Hell, you got a guy down in Georgia, followed the law, went to a gun store, legally bought a weapon. Have you guys heard of this? Where he got arrested for a stolen gun that he bought legally.
It was sold to him as a...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was sold to him from a gun store in the state of Alabama. You can look this up. This poor bastard got pulled over. They, let the cops know I have a gun. They checked the serial number. Come to find out, it was an administrative error that a weapon stolen from a police department was taken as evidence, and an administrative error allowed it to be taken out and sold to a gun store who was then able to legally sell it. And yet this guy who bought this legally got denied bond by a judge because he should have known it was stolen. But you can't check NCIS as a civilian. There is no way you're ever going to know that. It's up to the store and the police department who did this to be able to say, yes, this is good to go. The citizen's allowed to have this gun. We have all these regulations and all these laws that should keep something like that from happening. But guess what? It happened. A legal gun owner got arrested for buying a gun legally, and it was considered stolen from a police department. But yet, he was allowed to have it, even with all those background checks.
Wow.
But he's being told that he should have known it was stolen. But go ahead and tell me how we need more common sense gun laws.
Yeah,
there's a simple way to get around all of this. Get rid of the police or off-duty exemptions for any firearm law.
Yeah.
And then you'll see 99% of them go poof.
Yeah. Yeah, that's God. He still got charged even after they were able to prove that.
Yes.
Oh my
He got held in
God.
jail, went before a judge, and got denied bond. No bond. Sorry. Sucks to be you.
Now, after this was all cleared
did
up,
nothing wrong.
Did he get a massive paycheck?
This was recent.
Oh,
I don't
so it's
know
still
if he
going
did
on.
or not.
That judge should be disbarred.
But he will in the end.
If
Oh,
that-
God,
if,
yes.
If that judge knowingly
You was
jailed someone that did not commit a crime, then that judge should be disbarred, and that guy should
100%.
be boatload
Oh,
of money.
absolutely.
And also that police
But like I
department should be
said,
held
you have
accountable.
judges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. But you got laws on the book that sit there and say, oh, the police department can't be held accountable for their actions,
Why?
even if they're 100% wrong. I mean, there's times where some, things shouldn't be held accountable, like in domestics or something, because you have to make an arrest regardless, because you don't want to come back later and find out Boo Boo shot his Boo, and now she's dead, and now they're looking at you like, why didn't you arrest him? Well, I didn't have any probable cause at the time. Well, there's laws that let you get around that, so that way, if that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we don't need more laws. We just need to enforce what's actually on the books, and things like that will start happening. So,
Well, this is
if we actually did that.
This is the problem with any sort of registry that is government run, is they are going to fuck up, and someday they're going to hold you accountable when you did nothing wrong.
Yep.
This is the clearest example I can think of.
Well,
This is why, and I hate to say it, but instead of a registry, it should be the case of you should have people that are well trained, responsible for their stuff on their property, and hold those people accountable when they do break the law. You go to jail for a long ass time. You actually commit a violent crime.
yeah.
Make it
here's
so.
the funny
Guess
thing
what?
with
You got to
registries.
work. You got to go back to labor camps or some shit, or you got to fix all of our highways. Bring back what was it? Theodore
The
Roosevelt
chain
did?
gangs and all that.
Theodore Roosevelt did. We're basically using the people that were jailed to rebuild everything. It's like, wow, if you got to do 30 years hard labor for assaulting someone with a firearm that you didn't even own, like, maybe I'll think twice about it. You got to make examples of a few people. I hate to say it, but you got to.
Well, that's okay. I mean, when it comes to registries, the shit's dangerous anyways, because you had more people that were Jews that died in other countries because they had better registries, unlike Germany. Countries where they had really good registries on the Jews and everything. Guess where the highest mortality rate was? In those countries.
Yep.
So yes, registries are great.
yeah.
Sarcasm if you didn't hear it.
What? No.
Yeah.
All right. So, we've got the issue of concealed carry reciprocity. Is this something that needs to be a national standard or a state by state issue? I know our
it's
president.
something that, like, oh, sorry, you go.
Yes, I know our president has stated he wants to see concealed carry be something that works just like a driver's license, a national baseline. And yes, the vast majority of people that do carry also believe it should apply nationally, because most states that have a concealed carry program, it's really not that different across the board. The biggest issue is the state by state restrictions on the guns itself. So if they just settle on like a mid ground, then you go with that. Ohio actually has a very good baseline for what can and can't be done with the carry stuff. Yes, I'm a little biased, but at the same time, a lot of other states refer to Ohio for their stuff. Ohio's got
honestly, I think
with
if
23 states. That says something.
Yeah. Do you guys require a class or anything?
We used to. We just went to we just went to permitless carry. A constitutional carry.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine too. But I think like if you're gonna do a concealed carry, somebody should take people should take a class.
100%. Now, and I taught the class for a while. It used to be 12 hours, then they dumped it down to 8 hours. But to obtain the permit, you still have to take a class. But you can carry within the state without a permit as a state citizen. Go ahead.
How many hours of that was you touching your nipples?
Only 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 hour in the
reasonable.
class and 1 hour at the range. Because I had to
enough.
demonstrate proper alignment technique. Just right there at the target.
Fair enough.
But
Just gotta put that out there.
so HR 38, I think it's Senate Bill 65, are the 2
Mhm.
constitutional concealed carry reciprocity act. Those are still on the House calendars, but there is Senate gridlock. It looks like it needs 60 votes. Not sure if we're going to get it. Law enforcement groups like the FOP actually oppose this because why wouldn't they? Dickbags.
Right.
So it would.
These are also the same douches that sit there and be like, oh, Officer Dirtbag, he messed up big time, but we should really give them her job back because the police department fucked up the paperwork.
Yeah.
But then you have Officer Not So Bad. Well, they've lost their job, and we're not going to help them because
Did you just say ossifer?
Yeah.
Have you hit that part of the night?
I didn't think so, but maybe I did.
Yeah, I mean we've got cops out there sleeping with the entire police force, including the dog, and they lose their job, but the other ones who beat half the police force and the dog still get to keep their job. So it's kind of funny how that works. But the way
Right.
this is set up, the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity would honor out-of-state permits just like a driver's license. The critics are saying that it guts stricter states' rules, like we were talking about. Under 21 carry from permitless areas. Some states allow it. And that's one of the big issues where they're kind of saying, oh, we don't want them to do that in our state because we don't think it's safe. And I want people to just kind of let that sit for a second because an 18-year-old, they're saying, is not capable of handling a firearm. Yet the 18 to
But
21
yet they can
crowd,
join the military.
yes, the 18 to 21 crowd is generally the ones on the front lines with some of the biggest, baddest ass, most powerful firearms in the arsenal of the United States military, using them in combat situations. Well, I might add, to
I have
dispense.
a good movie quip to that.
What's that? Go ahead.
Where I watched a movie where there was American soldiers with a $2 million missile launcher system, and they launched it at a $20,000 Toyota pickup truck.
Uh-huh.
And those are people that are in charge of those weapons.
Yeah.
So, hey.
Do you know what I did when I was 20, when I had a $900,000 missile at my disposal?
Mm-hmm.
I put my penis on it.
I was going to say, I was riding a B-61 like I was going down with, in the movies.
Yep. Yeah, except when I did it, the captain saw me, as well as the entire bridge crew.
Of course they did.
Yeah, that was a speech that he wasn't ready to give.
No one ever said you weren't entertaining.
Well,
Whether that entertainment is consensual is a different story. That's the problem.
yeah.
Hey, at least you didn't walk up to a female on the flight line holding a handful of screws going, hey, you want a screw? And she didn't see what you're holding at the time. So next thing you know, the sergeant's looking at you like, am I going to have to fill out paperwork?
Well, okay. So what happened was, I'll take a quick segue. What happened was we were doing ammunition unload before we headed out for a excursion to the Med or the Persian Gulf. We had ordnance going into the loader, and then one came up to the deck. So I was asked to go and stand near it to make sure nothing hit it. Logical. So there's this shiny, glistening missile standing about waist high to me. And I'm just kind of looking at it, running my hand along this thing. I'm just like, oh, I waited my entire life for this. And so I just went kind of full Beavis Monkey Boy on this thing for like 10 seconds. My ship, the way it was laid out with the missile deck, the bridge was like right here, 45-degree angle line of sight to right where I was doing all of this. The captain comes down, red-faced, watery eyes, and just beelines it to me. And I'm just like, oh, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. He comes over, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm just like, I'm going to play this off, sir.
Sexually assaulting?
And he says, you realize the entire bridge crew just saw that. I'm just like, I do now. He just kind of takes a second. And he's trying to not laugh, and I know this. And a quick backstory. I was in charge of the ship's primary self-defense radar systems, so the captain really knew me, and I think he regretted that fact that he really knew me. But he's standing there, and he's like, listen, there are a lot of speeches that a commanding officer has to be ready to give when they assume command of a warship. Telling my guys to keep their cock off the ordnance, that's not a speech I have ready right now, so please don't do it again. I'm just like, yes, sir.
Oh,
so yeah,
you still my heart.
He goes to turn away, and then he just walks back over to me. He's like, wait, why the warhead? The exhaust port, I understand that. That makes sense. But why the warhead?
Oh, wait, he understood that part? That's what he understood?
He was a cool dude. Let me just say that. He was awesome. But he's looking at me. He's like, why the warhead, man? I'm just like, just want to feel the power, sir.
Yeah. The most I ever did was take live munitions and load it drunk.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know if that even compares. Watching those SPs run for their lives when they realized what I was doing. That was great.
Oh, yeah.
Getting that phone call while on a Vegas trip, getting blasted.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm thinking, oh, it's my day off. And get a phone call from the senior master sergeant going, hey, the other sergeant's sick. I need you to come in and load these live munitions for the pilots because it's the last time they get to fly all this stuff and they really need to go up. Hey, unfortunately, I'm drunk. I don't care. Get your ass in here. You're awake. You're alive. Okay. Yeah, that was fun. My two guys, when I'm sitting there getting the checklist together, saw I was wobbling and we're like, what are you doing? I'm drunk. Let's load these babies.
Nice.
Look back, the SPs that watched me walk on the flight line with my civvies on, my combat boots, and line badge out, and realized I was intoxicated, were gone.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
And then the senior master sergeant sitting at the doorway, just
mean
standing
mugging.
watching me. Oh, yeah, the whole time. And I'm just like, dude, you're the one that called me in. I didn't want to do this.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, we will try to get back on track. Where were we? Let's see. The FOP opposes all the permitless carry stuff. So, a lot of the critics are also stating that a nationwide reciprocity would gut. Oh, we already talked about that. I'm stupid tonight.
Yeah.
So
I was like, wait a minute.
some states are trying to tighten the reciprocity reviews. So by doing that, they think they can kind of make the overarching reciprocity requirements tighter to get more states in line with their requirements. Like no magazines over 10 rounds and certain guns have to make the list. And, like Massachusetts has, you can use a flintlock or something like that.
Exactly.
So that means I just carry around 10 flintlocks. Gotcha.
Well, they didn't say
All
you
ready to
couldn't
go
use
at
a
all
cannon
times.
in your car. So there's also that.
Ooh. You use it like an A10.
Uh-huh.
You just got to speed up before you're fired.
Yeehaw, chuckle fucks.
All right, get ready to... All right, go ahead and gas it, Bubba. I'm getting ready to fire.
So there's a lot of questions that need to be asked with this topic. Some people are saying nationwide carry equals a seamless road trip to freedom. or it's going to turn into permitless chaos. I disagree with that second one because all the states where they said, oh, permitless carry is going to be just blood in the streets has yet to actually come to fruition. Those states are actually some of the lowest crime states in the country.
Yeah, because the criminals know there's a good possibility that the citizen they're about to go rob has a weapon. That's why a majority of burglaries don't occur unless the people aren't home. Because just as much as the victim doesn't want to die, neither does the criminal.
Yeah.
So it's easier to commit a crime if you know there's a high chance you're not going to die.
Yeah. Let's see. Crossing the state lines with your permit, the way it is now, you might as well pack a lawyer in your glove box. But if we get the nationwide carry, those kind of issues go away. Gun carry insurance, you don't think it goes away?
Here's the problem.
Okay.
I live near New York State. The problem is, even if it's legal for you to carry with it, they can still arrest you and detain you for up to 3 or 4 days. And then by the time they realize, because they can. What are you going to do about it?
I fucking hate that.
They have.
Sue the shit out of them?
Same thing with New Jersey. Well, that's the thing is, does that save you from losing your job when you're arrested for, a felony? That's one of the problems we have. It's like, great, you might be right, but for the first while, you're not.
They just haven't arrested. Yeah, well, they just haven't arrested the wrong person. That's all.
But see, this is part of the problem.
Because it gets someone like me that's.
What happens if you can't afford to be out of work for several months and afford the lawyer and afford everything?
But that's what I'm saying.
This is part of the issue.
But that's what I'm saying.
Even if you make it national reciprocity, even if you do all these things, there are still some counties, some areas, some police forces where they will arrest you because in their eyes you're committing a felony, even if it's wrong. Even if they're 100% wrong, it's still going to happen. Until they're held accountable, it's still going to be an issue.
Yeah.
The two easiest ways to
That's
fix all this,
said.
very, very simply, should be any police force in the United States should all have to be using the same set of rules and same firearms as civilians. And that's that. All of a sudden, all of these laws, all of this entire discussion would go away because you would not have any officers arguing or any law enforcement agencies arguing about any of these laws. Say, nope, take them all back. We want to be able to carry what we want. It's like, yes, when you treat people of equal, all of a sudden now you don't want the rules.
Oh, yeah.
So, but same thing with the national reciprocity. You'd have to get a lot of states not only on board, but to understand that, like, just because you're traveling through New York and you don't like that I have a 17-round Glock, stuff it. It's legal. But that's going to be the problem.
Yep.
Unless you tell judges, hey, if you bring charges on these people when they're not committing a crime federally, decide to bring charges, you are disbarred. Until they're held accountable, none of this matters. Because I hate to say it, what happens if a judge does arrest you? Let's go the whole way here. You drive through New York, and even though you are within federal law and your home state's law, you drive through it, they arrest you, a judge prosecutes you, doesn't matter. Because by the time the federal government goes after them or the attorney general or whoever else, you've already lost your job. You're already in jail. You already have a record. Your rights have already been removed. So even if you come back and sue and do everything, what happens if you lose your business? What happens if you are a business owner or someone that takes care of people or have other things to do outside of simply enjoying your rights? I hate to say that, but there's people have other obligations outside of that. You still lose. So unless there is
That's where militia starts coming in.
That's where what?
Yep.
That's where militias come in.
Well,
because remember, part of the Second Amendment is the right to defend yourself against tyrannical government. Now you're starting to get into the whole tyrannical government side of things. I'm not saying that's what should happen, but that's the whole point of the Second Amendment.
Unfortunately, I don't know if you know this, not every state allows a militia.
Well, they don't.
That's a violation of the Constitution.
So they don't
look up right now. Look up the Massachusetts Constitution and look up their laws on a militia. If you form a militia, you are automatically sent to the governor, and you are basically now a government, like law enforcement agency or a military agency. So you cannot, as an independent, actually form a militia. You cannot.
Coming out of Massachusetts, do you know how much that hurts my soul?
Oh, trust me, I live in this
Right.
hellhole. I know. It sucks.
But yet, the people are so against fascists, but yet they don't take the time to look at their own government.
People
Mhm.
forget we voted for a state audit at 70% of the people, and they just said, no, fuck you, and they ignored it.
Wow.
You guys gotta understand,
I love it.
Massachusetts is its own thing, and that's why they're really pissed that Nick Shirley is here to uncover fraud, and they've already threatened to arrest him just for being here. So you thought it was bad in Minneapolis? Just wait. I've lived in Boston my entire life. I know this place. Yeah, it's way fucking worse.
How do you arrest somebody for just being there? What kind of shenanigans is that?
Because they're
Yes,
saying, oh, he's
stop-o
intimidating
much.
people, and he's going after people, and he's going after, disaffected minorities and all this other crap. They're going to say whatever they can. That's effectively how it works.
Wow.
That's where you cause some serious problems, because you're going to piss off the populace enough that at some point you're going to be like AOC running for your life, because all of a sudden all these people on January 6th busted in the building. Really.
Yeah. Wow. Oh boy. So,
So there
One-
was
one-
one point I wanted to bring up.
yeah, go ahead.
We were talking about that. So you were talking about, are we going to need to have basically a lawyer in the glove box when going across state lines and going to other states? Some states, like Massachusetts, are talking about making a requirement to have carry insurance, where the idea is you have to have legally carry insurance in order to carry, in addition to the license. That way, if something does happen, there's legal representation.
But that's the thing. Just like you can't force a person to have health insurance,
You can.
a
Ask Obama.
Second Amendment.
Well,
Yeah, well, they finally got rid of that.
they've
But
But
anyway,
he still did it.
they've made car insurance a mandatory thing.
but driving a car is not a right. That's a privilege. There's a difference.
Yeah.
There is a difference. You being alive is not a privilege.
Ask
That's a
California
right.
about that one.
Because-
they give licenses out to anybody.
Yes, they do.
Look at
Oh, they're freaking idiots too. But I have the hard R for them, but I can't say it apparently.
so here's something you guys don't know. Did you know Massachusetts has had state-funded healthcare since the mid 2000s? So guess what? In Massachusetts, you pretty much have to have healthcare. We pay into taxes into that system.
Wow.
Yeah. So everything you're saying, like people don't have to have it. Well, unfortunately, yeah, we have to. Essentially, because they do not accept cash. It has to be through an insurance. You can't just go to the doctor and be like, "Oh, I'll give you money." No. What's your carrier? What's your insurance? Well, I don't have it. Well, then sign up on the connector. Go home.
No. The best part is technically if they're doing that and they tell you got to go home, now you have a lawsuit because of the fact that they're not legally allowed to turn you away.
If you're
Yeah,
not
that's
in
true.
emergency room, they don't have to take care of you.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess I'm just going to
urgent
emergency
care,
room.
they have a
Yep.
right because they're more of a private deal.
So
Yeah, that's definitely urgent care. But I'm just saying, if you go to ER and they tell you that crap,
No.
I'll be like, oh.
ERs
no,
have
ER.
to treat you.
but that's part of the problem is when you have a state. I guess what I'm getting at, what I'm trying to make the point is you can make all the laws you want, but if there are judges and law enforcement officers not held accountable to enforce and abide by the laws, none of this
Yeah.
matters. They're
Yeah.
going to ban whatever they want to,
Right.
and then they're going to wait 5 or 10 years for the political system to catch up and say, oh, by the way, that was wrong.
Yep.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Whoopsie. We infringed on your rights for the last 10 years. Have a fucking cookie.
Oh,
That's
whoopsie
what they do.
doodles. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever law they come out in this, I guess, whatever. I'm unluckily, unlike everyone else in this area, if I got lost my job because I stood up for my rights, I can just be like, so take my car away. Oh, well, I can still live my life and I still have a house. So,
Yep. So, one other point I wanted to ask about on the concealed carry reciprocity. Do you think that if it were put into place, that it would end the patchwork confusion that exists? I think yes. But would it kind of effectively override local safety standards that states and municipalities have in place, and thereby increase the risk of a negative officer encounter if you're stopped? Or do you think it would have to have some kind
If
of
there was a
stipulation?
If there was a nationwide standard that everyone agreed to, and everyone said, okay, as long as you're meeting this standard, any laws in those states, if you're committing a crime, fine, but because we're holding it to this standard and everybody changed to that standard, it would work.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen. That will never happen.
I guess
So
one of the ways people have to think about
it becomes a moot point.
Oh, yeah. One of the ways people have to think about it, they compare U.S. policing to other countries they don't understand. We are 50 countries in a trench coat. And
Yep.
every other country, they just have one set of laws. And that's what they do. That's what they deal with. Whereas that is part of the problem with policing, where you might have a police officer move from one state to another, or even a different county, different town, whoever else is, and things might change. You know, even for instance, in my state, there are areas where they used to be before what happened in New York. I think it was the Bruin case. There were some towns that were not issue, meaning they would not issue a firearm license unless you absolutely needed it. Some were shall issue that might be conditional, or a will issue, which means as long as you pass the requirements, you get issued a firearm license. And sometimes there'd be confusion because police officers would ask you, in this town, how the hell did you get a license to carry? It's like, well, excuse me, officer. I only passed the test. Oh, you know, be careful. Whereas other towns, they'd be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you can carry as long as you have the license. Same thing with what you're talking about there, where if there was a national standard, you would get rid of a lot of the confusion and a lot of issues, and they'd have a set training standard. So it'd be the same interaction, same every time. That way you could tell everybody that's carrying, hey,
Right.
This is what's expected. This is what you should do. Here's our set standard for a law enforcement interaction when you're carrying either in your vehicle, on your person. This is where you keep your identification. This is where you keep everything else. That way you minimize the risks of any sort of, even just like a simple miscommunication. Because I've seen some instances where people travel to another state and they might not understand that in that state, you have to immediately identify you have a firearm and where it is. And you must keep your hands here. Whereas other states, like you go to Texas, in some places, they're like, you have a firearm? Cool. I got 9. Who the fuck cares? Like, I breathe air too, buddy. So it's kind of at least if you have that
buddy.
consistent a standard, but an expectation of not only what people are doing, but how to handle it and what's expected to give to the officer, what information and method, you would reduce so many unneeded interactions. And I think a lot of people would feel a lot safer. So there's no reason why to not have that happen, especially when I think a national safety standard for that would probably help fill in a couple of gaps in some areas, because I know it should be the case of, look, everybody that's a firearm owner, training's on you. You have to learn to be proficient with your firearm and understand the law. But at least if there was somewhat of a national standard, it would be, hey, can you not be a fucking idiot? Hey, cool. Are you able to carry this safely? Cool. Can you handle it and understand how to operate your firearm? Cool. Okay.
Right.
At least you have an IQ of over 70. We're good.
Yeah, but you see,
You know how awesome would have been to. I'm sorry. You know how awesome it would have been as a cop to sit there and just come across a citizen and be like, "Hey, you have a gun?" "Yes, sir, I do." "What do you got?" And just be able to shoot the shit for a second. Go, "Oh, let me see that. Oh man, this thing's great. There you go, buddy." You know how awesome that would have been. No, instead I gotta sit there and treat them like a freaking criminal as soon as I hear they have a gun. Bleh.
Yeah. You know, the fact that we give driver's licenses to people who definitely should not have driver's licenses also worries me. And I wonder if the whole, if this would fall into that category. So that's kind of like the only big reservation I have about this. I see people every day who drive who have zero business driving. You've got bad drivers. There are bad gun owners. And yes, it always comes back to personal responsibility, but god damn some of these drivers. Yes, Gibbs.
No, I actually have the opinion of, I'll be honest with you, our driving standards are fucking terrible. And I think across the board, every state, they should be raised, especially if, I will be intellectually consistent, if your driver's license is allowed in every state, there should be national standards. Because I am the victim of, in this area, in my fucking city, There were people that were illegal immigrants working at the RMV, and they gave away over 10,000 driver's licenses to people that never took a test. I live in an area
Oh my
where
God.
my automotive insurance is double from the next town over. Anywhere else, because I live here, because they decided to commit crimes and break the law. Because of that, there are so many dangerous people in this area that cannot drive at all. And there's no fucking standard. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
I 100% agree on there's a lot of people that shouldn't be fucking driving, and there should be higher standards, especially once you retire. For the love of God, if you're over the age of 65 and still driving, you should be tested regularly. Because Jesus Christ. So I would agree, just do both. National standards for both. It's not that hard. Especially if you make them reasonable.
Yep. Yeah. God, I had another point I was going to make, but I lost it. So it's all right.
I guess constitutional carry would be nice if people were responsible.
Yeah.
And I
All right,
unfortunately hate to say I think that's a necessary thing that's needed to have some level.
Yeah, very, very much.
Oh,
I want to move into the last thing that I had in the notes here for tonight. And this one's going to be touchy. School safety pushes, arming the staff and mandating training. A lot of states are starting to require.
Don't leave the door open.
Yeah. A lot of states are starting to require K through 12 firearm safety education that includes safe storage, don't touch found firearms with no live fire. Some schools are distributing storage information. Others are just upholding public place bans. Administrative surveys are showing a lot of opposition to arming teachers. Others are showing the teachers are okay with this. I know in my area, the vast majority of teachers are not only very okay, but they're taking it upon themselves with permission to not only get armed, but get funded training. I love and support that idea.
That's awesome.
There is a focus on prevention via the laws and trauma-informed approaches. I liken that to abstinence-only sex education, and we've seen exactly how well that has worked out over the years. Yeah.
I'm a product of sex education. Are you a product of sex education?
I'm a product of, I think my mom just wanted a back rub.
You should skip that.
Apparently, my mother wanted to go in the barn.
What's that, Gibbs?
I said I usually skip that part of the video.
Yep, just get to the good stuff. So mandatory classes would be practical prep, or would that be normalizing gun exposure to kids too early? I don't think that that's really a thing. All of my kids shot by the time they were 5. Go ahead.
I was going to say, wasn't there a time in this country's history where most kids took a shooting class by like 4th or 5th grade?
I have that in the notes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
See that?
Yes.
It's
But
literally
yeah.
the next page down. But yeah. Teaching don't touch is like telling toddlers not to eat glue. That's got mixed results. I think a lot of that goes back to how they're taught in the home. My youngest knows exactly what, or has always known, especially when he was younger, what to do with a firearm. You could ask him at any point in his life, if you saw a gun, what would you do? He'd tell you, don't touch it. Don't let anybody else touch it. Tell someone to go find an adult. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The deeper ethics on a lot of this is that many incidents are from family-owned firearms being improperly stored or allowing the kids to have improper access to them. I think a lot of this also goes into the mental health debate, and that's probably a topic for a whole other issue or episode. But when it comes down to the school stuff, there's also a serious lack of on school premises level safety and diversionary resources, not just emotional and mental stuff, but access as well. Go ahead, Gibbs.
Well, I was going to say, it is a necessary evil of the world that unfortunately schools are targeted because we've been told for decades now it's a firearm free zone, gun free zone. Nothing's supposed to happen there. What that tells someone is that's a target. There's no one that's going to retaliate. How they should be designing schools.
Yeah, it's a soft target.
Exactly. How they should be designing schools for the 21st century is, teachers only know where there are hidden safes in every room. That way, if something does happen, things can be stowed appropriately. Obviously, teachers should be trained. This is something that, obviously, if they're willing to, if that's something they want to do, especially if you already have any prior training or prior information, that's something that for those teachers that want to train, it should be unknown to the parents, to the kids. That way, you never know who might have it, who might not. That's part of it. I also think big thing would be janitorial staff or any other non-teaching staff also being armed would be awesome. That way it's someone that you rarely see, you rarely know, they're just kind of around. Being able to have resource officers has been shown to be quite helpful. This is something that is kind of a necessary evil, but unfortunately I think it's something that most of America should adopt. Ideally every school.
I
but
agree.
there might be schools where people are not comfortable, in which case it's something they should be told, like, hey, here's how we make it comfortable. Here's how we get you into this. Because at the end of the day, that's your first line of defense.
Say bah to those people.
That's your first line of defense. Actually, my old school that was redesigned, they have for the main entrance, it's a 2-stage entrance system.
Yep.
Where you have to go
Most
through 3
schools have
separate
that
doors
now.
and like 2 lobbies. And they've shown through a lot of testing that's been very helpful. Being able to separate somebody and then have a resource officer or an administrator that is armed be able to pat someone down, double check them, talk to them. That way, even if something did happen, I hate to say it, but they're the only person at risk. They're risking one person rather than the school. So school design and architecture and needs to be a factor as well.
Yeah. So what a lot of schools up around here have been doing is they're putting out signage very clearly displayed stating that staff is armed.
Good.
And some schools have even taken that whether they are or not. They're just putting it out there as a deterrent.
As they should.
Exactly. And I think that's a good move. Now, they should be armed just in case, but that's the administration and the teachers' thing to do, because nobody should be forced to get into that situation if they don't want to, if they're not prepared to. But if they're capable and willing, they should have the tools at their disposal to do so.
Especially, I love the idea that administrators can be, because they're usually in an office near the center or near the nerve center of the school. They have access to the comm system, access to police. They're usually the first ones that can respond or get information out there. That, to me, like, if I was running a school system, they would be the first people to be like, hey, you are my number one line of defense here. But
yeah. I mean, from the police side of things, do we want anybody running around with a gun that shouldn't be? No. Just like, okay, you have teachers in there, and we're going into school knowing that, there might be a good guy that has a weapon. Do we really want them running around with that? Not really, but it would be good to know that even as, as a cop, as a parent, that if you're in that classroom, you've locked it all down, but you still got that 9mm or the 22 sitting on the teacher, just in case somehow the suspect got inside, at least you know that there was that last line of defense. I wouldn't suggest a teacher or anybody to be like, oh, there's an active shooter. Go out there and stop the active shooter. No, I would never expect any of them to do that. And I think that's where some of the disconnect might be, is that, some people think, oh, well, you're giving the gun to the teacher, they should be expected to go after the bad guy. No, they're there to protect the kid.
Defensive situation only.
exactly.
Right.
And I don't even think
and
it should be a
that's
pistol.
where some people are getting upset about it.
Yeah, I think they should have access to both a pistol and a shotgun.
I would say whatever they're proficient with.
That would end the threat immediately.
Exactly.
Shotgun, you don't even have to aim, really. Just point and shoot.
Just get it close.
But I would
just get it close enough to your end.
And even something like a 410 is all they need in that situation. They don't need something big and massive like a 12 gauge, a 10 gauge. No. They just need enough to either deter or get enough lead on target to put them down.
All you have to do
410
is
is
neutralize
great
the
home
threat.
defense.
And I love
threat?
to have a teacher to have a firearm with the inscription to whom it may concern, just hanging around the safe, just for that one instance. But I would just stress it would be whatever they're proficient with, whatever they can train with, whatever makes the most sense for the design of the building. That way there's no over penetration, nobody else is at risk. You know, they might have to change what they have depending on where they are in the building. But as long as the building is designed to facilitate that kind of defensive scenario, whatever they got to use. I wouldn't even care if they had like one of those AR pistol kind of things. Like whatever you got to do, man. If it works, it works.
AK pistol.
But the funny,
Dude.
but the crazy part is, again, if the suspect knows that they're walking into a building and there's the possibility that there's somebody in there with a freaking gun that's going to stop them, you're going to see a lot less of these kind of things take place. Because I swear it's like a theme. After we started taking the gun clubs away, we started taking away the shooting teams and all that stuff. All of a sudden, this started becoming a problem because now you've taken away anybody that was responsible with the gun, and you've kind of demonized it. So now anybody that's looking to do harm to people knows I can walk into a school and start blasting and know that the odds of me getting shot by somebody is almost nil.
Yep.
Because by the time I'm done, I can walk out of the building and be running, look like everyone else, and I'm not going to get hurt by the police. If you know what you're doing, which is scary for a criminal, which it does happen, you know, the odds of you getting shot back at a school is almost zero. Whereas if you were walking a bank, a grocery store, you know, some place where there's somebody at a gas station where somebody's got a weapon, more than likely, you know, there's a good possibility you might get shot. So the threat level increases for the criminal. Whereas, I walk into a school, I can start blasting. Ain't nobody shooting back at me. It's like fish in a barrel.
I think for
But if you put teachers in there with these guns, all of a sudden that changes the whole scenario.
I wonder if part of why it's become such a rise as well in the younger crowd doing these things, as well as firearms are seen, for a while they were seen more and more taboo of a kind of thing where it was weird it was weird to have one or odd to have access to one, especially in more urban areas, where knowing that these teachers and staff are armed would make it way less taboo and way more real to understand, hey, these are the consequences. This is how life is. Unfortunately, most life does devolve down to the fact that something can happen at any time. Anyone can decide that their life is worth more than yours and do something to take that away. And I think for a lot of kids, not that their innocence should be broken, but almost anyone, once they hit your teenage years, it's like, hey, you gotta understand, at the end of the day, this basic reality of life, unfortunately, is a fact. And these teachers are armed. So don't think that you can just, like we see in some urban schools, where don't think you can just throw hands with a teacher. Don't think you can just do whatever the hell you want or bring in a firearm and do whatever. There are now consequences to these actions, and you need to be made aware that you might not know the consequences other than they're going to be bad. So don't do this shit.
I wouldn't say now there are consequences. I would think we should say there's consequences again.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it also comes down to respect from the younger generation and the lack that they have towards anybody older than them.
It's the whole mentality of, you can't do anything wrong as a child. Yeah. And then you grow up thinking, I can't do anything wrong. So then they freak out because someone told them no.
Yeah, and it's usually the first time they've ever heard that word. And it's terrible.
Before I was medically retired, I experienced it multiple times. I hated every experience of it. Every single time I hated it.
So,
what do you mean you're taking my license? What do you mean you're taking my car? Oh my God, you can't do that. The law says I can.
Yeah. So, getting back on this, we said that most of the incidents happen from family-owned guns and just poor storage. So if the safety classes are brought back at a national level, does that begin to bridge the divide or kind of fuel some of the issues? You had mentioned that schools used to have the shooting teams and everything. They also had indoor ranges.
Yeah.
One thing I was kind of thinking, the guns were in the school, then they got taken from the school, and now they're being brought back into the school, but in the wrong way. So just the guns want to be at the school. We just need to cater to that.
What? I
Yes, because the guns have a mind.
They
When
wanna
you ask
learn.
some of these people, they think they do.
They yearn for the books.
They
That's right. They want that education.
So I guess I would, if I was a lawmaker or governor for a state, I would welcome schools to advertise both ways. If a school wants to be gun free and they want to do that, they should advertise it as such, and the other one's vice versa. But I would specifically point out, hey, if you don't like firearms, you're taking a risk having your kids here. I hate to be that guy, but there's going to be people that don't want to just say, oh, I can't have firearms. I can't have my kids here. It's like, okay, you're making that choice. But unfortunately, we're going to have to let the data bear out to show what truly is better.
What?
And I think some people, they're
You
going to
know-
have to risk it and learn the hard way. And I hate to put it that way, but you know there's going to be
There's
a
a
lot of people,
study you
especially in
could
certain
do.
states like Illinois is one I can think of, and New York, and Massachusetts. There's a few other ones, California. They're going to be absolutely against it. It's like, well, okay, let the schools vote on it, or let private schools do what they're going to do. Let the data show in a few years. And I hate to say it,
Yeah.
it's going to show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it absolutely will. That's a study I would love to see.
Yeah.
How many schools that don't have shootings or little to no casualties, if there is one, versus a school that has no guns at all.
Or also schools that openly support, the banning of all firearms, anti-Second Amendment stuff, all that, anti-Constitution stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then watch when they have behavioral issues
Exactly.
and other violence issues, whereas the other ones that are very pro law and order, Second Amendment, watch how they're not going to have anywhere near the issues the other schools will have.
Right.
And some people are going to scratch their head saying, I don't know why this is happening. When the rest of us are going to be like, you fucking idiot. Like, we know why. It's not hard.
If we know why, you just don't want to talk about it. Because you got, like in that case with the one teacher that got the snot beat out of her because she took, the technology away from the one kid. So, the boy's twice her size. So he just Mongo beat and just beat her into submission.
Yeah.
And the administration is just like, we don't know what happened. Well, that's your problem too.
Oh yeah.
Got everybody not wanting to take accountability.
Well, also as a teacher, like as someone that was going down that road until I fucking left it, because fuck that shit. You can't, as an instructor, especially as a large guy, I was told there are zero circumstances where I can do anything. Because legally, I will always be at fault. Even if they brought in a firearm, I was told, oh yeah, you run. And I was like, well, what if I legally carry in this state? They're like, no, you can't. It doesn't matter. There is no situation, even if someone brought in a knife or a sword or was threatening, because of simply how I look, there's nothing I can do about the situation. So as soon as I heard that, I resigned within a couple of months. It's like, no.
Yeah, you act and react,
No.
and then you let them judge you with the national spotlight on that.
But
Yeah, even though we're not guilty until proven guilty. Police, teachers, firefighters, anybody that's in a very sensitive area, you're guilty until proven innocent.
But unfortunately, the catch is the teachers union would not have my back.
Oh yeah,
That's the
Oh,
catch.
I'm
The
not
the
surprised.
other unions would, but the teachers union absolutely would not have your back on something like that. They'd say, nope, you broke the law. Tough shit. So it's like, why? And unfortunately, I hate to say it, in a lot of schools, particularly more left-leaning areas, that's why you don't see teachers stand up. You don't see teachers do anything. You see teachers get the shit beat out of them in certain areas, and you're told you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So I know we're starting to run a little bit long, so I want to get on to some quick stats that I wanted to bring up. Some of the numbers I was able to find, the higher rural ownership versus lower urban ownership of firearms. Rural ownership is roughly 46% versus 19% for urban. If you go by the party lines, Republicans 45, Democrats 20, 51% say they prioritize rights versus 48% that say control. There is a generational shift that's starting to happen. More young Republicans are open to restrictions, so that's odd. I think it's just the younger crowd not understanding life. Household ownership is starting to kind of come up a little bit, but it's still holding in that 42 to 44% ballpark that we mentioned earlier. Firearms are being looked at as a bit of cultural identity. Out in the rural areas, it's a symbol of independence. In the urban areas, it's kind of a symbol of fear, possibly. I kind of think that's more of a where you carry the setup matches your politics more than your outfit. And yes, I am looking at you, the ladies with the sparkly grips. So, working class owners versus the people who get to have the bodyguards. I think there's going to be a very deep polarization between that group always. It's probably never going to change. If the divide does grow,
the people with
does the Second Amendment become more of a flashpoint, or is it just going to continue to be a national kind of poking the bear, wait for the fire to take off?
As long as, unfortunately, private security is allowed to get around the law in certain ways and do things that a civilian can't, or a licensed firearm owner can't, there's always going to be some tension. So it's one of those things where, because I'm sure we've all seen time and time again, privatized security forces, that they get special privileges, special rights, can carry fully automatic weapons, can carry stuff in certain calibers, certain things, certain barrel lengths, whatever, not have to abide by certain laws because for some reason they're allowed to. There's some sort of loophole, or they know somebody, whatever. They have certain paperwork filed that regular people can't. As long as that's the situation, there's always going to be tension about it. And quite frankly, those people are so far removed from the consequences of any law that to them it doesn't matter. So that's going to be a point of contention until that's resolved. And unfortunately, I don't think that's ever going to be resolved in this country. You're always going to get some people that get certain privileges. Nope. And I hate to say this, unfortunately, it's always going to be you politicians that are allowed to have anybody around you carry whatever you want. They could ban firearms tomorrow, and they will still have full security with full body armor, full everything, NVGs, you name it, nods, whatever, and they'll still have whatever they want to carry. So unfortunately, until there's a law in the books that says they have to carry the same things as everyone else, they can do what they want.
And the funny part to that is the only reason they're going to still do that is because they know for a fact that they're not protecting against civilians that are following the law. They're protecting against the criminals that don't give a shit. That's who they're protecting themselves against. Not the normal everyday citizen who's just working their 9 to 5 and going back and forth to work. They don't give a shit. Those aren't the people they're protecting themselves against. And that's what they don't say out. That's the quiet part they're not saying out loud.
Like, case in point, why do you think ICE walks around so well armed? It's because there's cartel members putting hits out on them.
Yeah.
This is why.
But we don't talk about that because, they all wear masks, but nobody talks about that. They're all going on about, oh my God, they're arresting people and they're just trying to live their life. Well, if they came here legally, I know plenty of legal aliens that came here the right way who are really pissed at the ones who come here illegally. But we don't talk about that for some reason. Yeah. The people who spend the time, become American citizens, who are proud of being American citizens and did it the right way. I am happy to have as friends.
Absolutely.
But it's the individuals that come here illegally that I'm just like, whatever, dude.
And I know our topics on government stuff don't usually hit very well, but we may end up doing an episode on the immigration stuff. Yeah. Oh, Gibbles.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But I think that's going to kind of wrap it up for tonight. The big thing I wanted to ask for the listeners, if you guys have run into anything with weird gun laws, or if you've had any good interactions with police officers and you've been stopped while carrying, or if you have any general thoughts on the reciprocity stuff, talk to or let us know about it, because we like interacting with you guys. At the end of the day, this all comes down to personal responsibility and just kind of being a decent person who is just trying to live their life. We've got enough shitbags out there trying to make it hard for everyone else. I don't think anyone in this circle is trying to add to that pile. If we are adding to that pile, it's the non-moving pile. So let's continue that.
Smells like money.
Everyone back in the pile.
Oh my goodness. Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. I hope you guys liked the show. If questions, comments, concern, send them to us. Questions about Manny's wrestling, send them to Gibbs. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week, hopefully. Thank you all.
Like
we love you all.
Where was that in the script?
I don't even like mayo. That's the thing.
You're going to like it when you're wrestling. You're going to eat it out of the pool.
I like some I like Miracle Whip. Yeah, that's always nice.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We love you all, and we'll see y'all next week.
All right, stopping recording.